She took my purse and told me, "We'll be using your money for this trip." She thought I'd just accept it, but what I did next left her speechless. The summer vacation was supposed to be a fun, relaxing trip, a week at a beautiful beach resort with my parents and siblings. But from the moment we arrived, something felt off. My mother had been acting strangely, insisting on handling all the money for the trip. I didn't think much of it, until the moment she reached for my purse. We had just checked into the hotel when she suddenly snatched it from my hands. She smiled like it was nothing. "We'll be using your money for this trip." I blinked, confused. "What?" She sighed, as if I were the unreasonable one. "It's only fair. You've been working and we paid for everything while you were growing up. Now it's your turn to contribute." I felt my stomach drop. Contribute? This wasn't a request. It was a demand. And the worst part, they had never even told me this was the plan. I looked at my dad and siblings, expecting someone to step in, but they just avoided eye contact, like they knew and didn't care. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about helping. They had planned this all along. I took a slow breath, forcing a smile. "Okay?" My mother smirked, thinking I had given in. But she had no idea what I was about to do next, because if she thought she could steal from me without consequences, she was in for a rude awakening. That night, as everyone settled into the hotel, I silently made my move. While my parents and siblings relaxed in their rooms, I went down to the front desk. I had one goal: to take back control. I pulled out my ID and smiled at the receptionist. "Hi, I need to check something on my reservation." She typed into the system and nodded. "Of course. What do you need?" "Perfect." I leaned in. "Actually, I'd like to split the reservations. I'll be keeping my room, but the rest of the charges should go under my mother's name. She has my wallet, after all." The receptionist hesitated. "Are you sure?" I smiled sweetly. "Very sure." After a few taps on the keyboard, she confirmed the change. Now my money was no longer paying for their luxury vacation. But I wasn't done yet. I turned to her again. "Oh, and one more thing. Could you remove my name from any shared expenses? I'll be handling my own meals and activities separately." She nodded. "All set." I exhaled in relief. Step 1. Complete. Now it was time for step 2. I pulled out my phone and booked a last-minute day trip for myself. A private boat tour, spa package, and a fancy dinner. All for me. If they wanted to use my money, they were going to find out just how wrong they were. The next morning, I packed a small bag and left the hotel before any of them even woke up. When my mother went to pay for breakfast using my card, she was in for the shock of her life. Because by the time they realized what I had done, I was already gone, enjoying the vacation I actually paid for. A few hours later, as I was sipping a cocktail on a private boat tour, my phone exploded with messages. "Mum, where are you? Mum, why isn't your card working? Mum, what did you do?" I smirked, taking another sip. She was finally realizing that her little plan had backfired. A few minutes later, my phone started ringing. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the messages from my siblings. "Brother, Mom is freaking out. Just pay for the trip and deal with it later." "Sister, you're being selfish. We're a family. You should help out." I rolled my eyes. Oh, now they cared. They had no problem staying silent when my mum snatched my money, but now that they weren't getting a free vacation, I was the bad guy. I sent a single message in response. "Me. You were all fine with Mom stealing from me. Now you can all figure it out without me. Enjoy." Then I turned off my phone. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. No guilt, no obligations, no one treating me like a personal bank. The boat rocked gently as the sun shimmered over the water. This was what a vacation was supposed to feel like. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, chaos was unfolding. With my card no longer covering expenses, my mother was forced to use her own money. The expensive meals, the excursions. Suddenly, they weren't so necessary. According to a friend who texted me later, my parents had to cancel most of their plans. The luxury spa day? Gone. The yacht rental? Too expensive. They even had to downgrade their room to a cheaper one. My mother was livid. But what really sent her over the edge? She had to pay for it all herself. By the time I returned to the hotel that evening, my mother was waiting in the lobby, arms crossed, face red with frustration. "Do you think this is funny?" she hissed the moment she saw me. I set down my designer shopping bags and smiled. "A little." She glared at me. "We're family. We take care of each other." I laughed. "Oh, is that what we're calling it? Because from where I'm standing it looks like you tried to rob me." Her jaw clenched. "You owe us for everything we've done for you." I leaned in slightly. "No, I don't. You made the choice to have kids. That was your responsibility, not an investment expecting a return." She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "This conversation is over. You can enjoy the rest of your trip on your own dime." Then I walked right past her, back to my upgraded suite. That was the last family vacation I ever went on. And I never let them use me again. Some lessons? They have to be learned the hard way. 1 year later. I sat at a cafe stirring my coffee when my phone buzzed. A message from my sister. "Sister, Mum wants to know if you're coming to the family vacation this year." I smirked, already knowing where this was going. Me. Is she asking me to come? Or to pay for it? A few minutes passed before she responded. "Sister, she just thinks it would be nice if we all contributed." I nearly laughed out loud. They hadn't changed at all. After last year's disaster, I had gone low contact with my family. No more last-minute demands for money, no more guilt trips, no more being treated like an ATM. And guess what? They didn't like it. Without my financial support, their vacations became staycations. Their extravagant dinners turned into home-cooked meals. They were finally living within their means because they had no choice. I leaned back in my chair, typing my response. Me. I already paid for one family vacation. That was enough for a lifetime. Hope you all have fun. Then I muted the chat. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to explain. I was done. Because the truth was, family doesn't mean financial servitude. And the moment I stopped letting them take advantage of me, I finally started living my life for me.